So Coach Feroz came out, Georges St-Pierre's head coach, Roy McDonald's head coach, and he was talking about a possible matchup between George and Khabib. And this topic just won't die. I mean, it just won't go away. So I can't let it go. I got to keep talking about it too. But it was very interesting because Feroz came out and he said, okay, here's the deal. George's kicking alone is going to win him rounds against Khabib. And I like how he worded that. He didn't get crazy. He didn't say it's going to win him the fight. It's going to score him a knockout. He said it's going to win him rounds. Okay, let's just say he's right. And then he said, I don't think Khabib can take George down. But if he does, George will get back up. Okay, let's say he's right. Then he went further to say, I actually think that Khabib has a very good jab. I don't know that people recognize it. Khabib has a very good jab, but George has a very good jab. And George can be even longer with it. George has won a fight with a jab before. If you go and see Josh Koscheck Part 2, George won that with a jab, which had really never been done in mixed martial arts, and it's not how anybody saw that fight going, boom, George just kept sticking him. 25 minutes later, they go home, George has his hand up, won all 5 rounds. So George has a history. This jab business is very real. Let's just say Coach Feroz is right. That would win George the fight. If George could stop from being taken down, at least in theory, or scramble up from the takedowns and then score more jabs and more kicks than Khabib, that would win him the fight. The one intangible there, and I find it very fascinating to try to break down that fight, but also very fascinating to try to break down anybody who could beat Khabib. Khabib just has this aura of invincibility around him. And by aura, I don't mean like a Mike Tyson-esque where people are just scared and leave their tools in the locker room. I mean, he's got footage dating back 28 fights. 28 fights over multiple world champions. I mean, meaningful contests, and he's dominated them. So, high-pressure situations. I mean, Jiminy, they built an arena for him. One time, he's got live gate records. I mean, the guy, it's insane. Some of the pressures that he's been under, and he's conquered them all. So, trying to break down who and what it would take to beat Khabib is very fascinating. But one thing that Khabib has done very well, he's made himself look very big in the octagon. When I say look very big, I'm a guy sitting on the outside just watching him. I've never seen him in there with an opponent where Khabib's bigger than this guy. Not just in the way he looked, the way he fights like he's big. He grabs a hold of a guy and he shoves his ass backward. He takes him down and he holds him there like he's got a 100-pound weight advantage. He looks big. I'm not saying he is big. I'm saying he fights in a way where he looks big. He looks stronger. He looks in control. He's got this big brother factor where he's throwing guys down and sitting on top of them and giving them noogies all night long. I mean, that's what it looks like. There's no way to logically believe that he could look bigger than George. I mean, not when George is the world champion at 185 pounds and is coming down to 155. I'm just talking logically. One thing that is very noticeable about StPierre is his unhuman-like strength. Quite frankly, this is as a middleweight. Bisping talked about how strong George felt. This is at middleweight. He's passing up welterweights, going down to 155. I mean, I think if we were to take the evidence that we've been given by guys who have been in there with him, who are strong guys, nobody's ever called Michael Bisping weak, and Bisping tipped his hat to George's. I think if you look at that, it'd be hard to believe that Khabib could just come in and push George around. So if Coach Feroz is right that George can win the striking battle, both with the kicks and with the jab, and if he's right that George can keep his back off the mat, I think there is one other element that would need to happen. He needs to keep his back off the fence. Khabib, with part of his bigness and part of his bullying and part of pushing guys around, is he's able to come forward, cut him off, push him into the fence. Whether he jabs his way back there, whether he comes in and hits a sloppy shot, but it's enough to gain ground, ultimately he pushes him into the fence, and then he's at home. He's at home like nobody I've ever seen. I've seen guys that are good off the fence. Randy Couture used to push guys there and maul them there. Daniel Cormier loves to get that position. Khabib's ability isn't just to stay there, hit the body, hit the legs a little bit, maybe land an uppercut. He will drag you off and dump you to your back, and you're going to finish the round there. It's going to be a very bad day. So if StPierre, just on his strength and size alone, could stop from being pushed back, you add into what Coach Feroz is talking about, use that jab, use some of the kicks, not get taken down, maybe grab your own takedown. All of a sudden, you are trading rounds back and forth. All of a sudden, at least in theory, you've got a very interesting match. You even have a very close match. And I think the way that Coach Feroz lays it out, very matter of fact, like not talking crazy, oh, George's going to come out, knock him out in 30 seconds, and that's the end of it. And they're going to prove that the old guard is better than the new guard. I can't believe this is even a conversation. Nah, he's breaking this down like it's going to be a long, drawn-out night. Like, man, we're going to have to pack a lunch and be here for a while, but we're prepared to be here for a while. I just think when you start to hear some of these theories and philosophies as to why that match is compelling and as to why George could come in and yet again shock the world, I think as the debate grows, the interest grows because I feel everybody's being honest. One of the things that I really like about Khabib versus Tony is the honesty from Khabib's camp. Khabib came out and went as far as to say, I have not been motivated in recent competitions, but I am now because now I've got a very worthy opponent in Tony Ferguson. I mean, that lets us know he sees something. He sees the same thing that we see. That Tony is the guy, and Tony is the unique skill set, and Tony poses a whole bunch of problems. The fact that Khabib co-signs that statement, at least in the world of conversation, which is ultimately what promotion is, I think it's very helpful.